I did, the military. The military was great for me, and
But again, you were born for this. I mean, this is like something you were drawn to, like a magnet to metal filings.
yeah.
You know?
No, I was drawn to it, but I was still like when I joined. My dad said to me, "You're gonna hate it because you hate authority." That's what my dad said to me. I was like, okay. And but that gives you an indication as to what kind of kid I was. I was like completely out of control and didn't listen to anybody, and I was probably similar to what you were like, I'm guessing. I was just an out of control kid that just did whatever. And so joining the military, it put the structure around me, and all of a sudden I could take all this energy that I had. And what's really nice about it is you get this clean slate where they're like, okay, if you do this, you'll be successful. Here's what you do. Check these boxes. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to do those things. And you just do them. And you develop the discipline, the discipline, and I talk about that all the time, the fact that discipline equals freedom, and the more discipline you have as a human, the more freedom you're gonna have, which is completely counterintuitive. People think, oh, you're living this disciplined lifestyle, so that means you don't have any freedom. And it's actually the exact opposite. I have freedom because I have discipline. I have financial freedom because I have financial discipline. I have more time. I have more time because I have the discipline to get up in the morning, before most normal people get up. Those are the kind of disciplines that you put into place, and those definitely get instilled through the military.
Well, I think the one thing that discipline definitely does help you with is it helps you get things done. And when you get things done, when you actually do things, you have more success. If you have more success, sometimes a big part of success is just not being fucking lazy and just doing it.
Yeah.
That's like 90% of it is just showing up. Get there and start working. Like, you're not gonna feel perfect every day. If I only worked out when I felt good, I'd be a fat fuck. Because there's a lot of days I don't want to do it. It's pretty much the same with everybody that actually gets good at something. There's got to be those days you push through, and they're probably going to be more numerous than the days you don't. And so the benefit of discipline, in my eyes, has always been that through discipline I get things done. I always say that I'm like the most lazy, disciplined person I know, because I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
but I always do.
Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely accurate. There's a great book on it. Stephen Pressfield wrote a book called The War of Art. And Pressfield was essentially like a ne'er-do-well till he was like 40 years old. He was kind of a fuck-up. And then figured it out. Somewhere along the line, figured it out. I used to keep a stack of them in my old studio, and I'd hand them out to guests if I thought they needed it. Like, just take this. Just trust me. Read this. Because a lot of artists and comics, I bet musicians as well, but writers for sure, one of the big problems is sitting down and doing the work. And you got to, and Pressfield talks about that in the most concise and beautiful way. And he labels it like an enemy. He calls it resistance, and that you have to sit down, you have to overcome resistance, and that the pro goes to work. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, it doesn't matter if you have kids, it doesn't matter what, you're a pro and you go to work. And that just, it puts it in your head that this is what I do. This is what, and you have pride in that. And then when you are in front of that keyboard and you look down at the count, it says, I got 1,000 words today. I put 1,000 words in. You're doing the work. Yeah. And out of that work, gems blossom. Little things, but you might have a day where you just write nothing but dog shit. So what? Show up again tomorrow. And tomorrow out of that dog shit, a flower will emerge. You never know. And that's the only way to develop real, to really develop your potential 100% in anything, whether it's as an author or even as a martial artist. There's a lot of creativity in martial arts. To be a great striker, you have to be creative, because you have to develop patterns or execute patterns that aren't going to be perceived. Like if a guy has a real simple 1-2, 1-2, you're going to time that shit. And we were talking before this podcast about Holly Holm's victory over Ronda Rousey. And one of the things that we were talking about was that Ronda had this very linear, straightforward attack. You knew she was coming, and Holly is a master at countering. So all she had to do was wait and move, and Ronda was coming in one direction. There was no variation.
There was no creativity.
There was no creativity. It was a mad bulldog rush that had worked on everybody else before. But she found one person who was a virtuoso at movement, And she needed creativity, and it wasn't there. And she needed that experience that came with having faced someone who knew that position and had a deep understanding of that movement, and she didn't have that in her repertoire. And so that's the result that we saw. Like a striker like Anderson Silva is extremely creative. You watch, he's got a fight versus Tony Strickland in Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors? What the fuck was it called in England? Small organization in England.
I think it's called Cage Warriors.
Yeah. Where he practiced this step-in uppercut elbow, like a sideways elbow. And his coach was going, "You're fucking crazy, stop practicing that." And he would make his wife hold a pillow because his coach didn't want him to practice anymore because he thought he was wasting his time. So he practiced stepping. His wife would hold a pillow for him, and he'd step in and throw this uppercut elbow. That's what he knocked out Strickland with. And obviously, Strickland was outclassed in that fight, but he wanted to make a point. And like the front kick that he landed in the face of Vitor Belfort, Vitor never saw that shit coming because nobody had done that to him before. Because nobody had done that in the history of the UFC. Nobody had ever knocked anybody out with the first kick you learn in martial arts. But the creativity to try something like that, he would throw punches to your thigh from standing. He would throw a jab to your thigh. He would throw a crescent kick, an inside crescent kick to your face. Like, what the fuck? It was part of what made him such an effective striker, is that he threw these things that you just didn't expect him to do. Mm-hmm. Discipline equals freedom. It's like one of the best catchphrases. It's so accurate.
It's empowering.
It's so empowering. Get your shit together, and then the time that you have for recreation, you'll appreciate it so much more. You don't appreciate rest when you're fucking off all day.
Yeah.
You appreciate rest when you've worked hard. That's when it means something to you, when you've accomplished goals. That's when this celebration is something that you get a good feeling from it.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of shit. The only way I could ever do as many different things as I do is if I just get after it.
Yeah.
I get after it pretty fucking good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not insecure in that. I mean, whether it's through martial arts or any kind of exercise or work, I take pride in getting things done. I take pride in working.
Yeah.
You know, especially working towards things that are important to me, whether it's working on my set, working on my stand-up, whether it's working on a podcast, whether it's working on my martial arts or my fitness or yoga or whatever. I get after it, man. You just got to.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not a matter of whether or not it's an option. It's like brushing my teeth. I don't decide one day, I don't want to brush my teeth today. I just fucking brush my teeth. And when there's days where I'm doing fasted cardio, when that alarm goes off, it's not a matter of whether or not I shut the alarm off. That's not an option.
Yeah.
You get up, you put your fucking shoes on, you get the dog, and you go running, because that's what you do. And if you just decide that's what you do, then you get things done. And then a month later, you're like, oh,
Holy
look,
shit.
we did this all month. And then 6 months later, it's like, oh, I did this half a year. And then if you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're like, oh shit, look, I got a blue belt. Oh shit, now I'm a purple belt. And that's how you become a black belt.
Yeah.
You just, and I got
This is the good type of progressive, because it gets progressively easier too. I told you I'm doing that.
It doesn't though. It doesn't get easy.
You don't think so?
It's fucking hard every time that alarm goes off. Like, fuck.
But you
All
don't think
right,
it's
here we
easier
go.
for you now than right when you started?
I don't know, man.
Because you know the reward of it. You know that reward
There's
is
some
there.
enforcement. There's
Yeah.
some enforcement in the success that I've had in completing these tasks. But every fucking time I go to yoga class, I'm like, oh, Jesus. 90 minutes in a 104-degree temperature with all these women that are going to humiliate me.
They can definitely do things that you can't do.
They're just they're tough, man. There's a lot of these older ladies that are fucking tough.
Yeah.
They just gut it out. It's never easy to do. It gets a little bit easier when you get better at it, but then you just try harder and it makes it more difficult. If you're always giving 100% effort, it's always going to be hard. You take some pride in the fact that now I can go 2 miles through the hills and reach the point of exhaustion. Where before it was 1 or whatever your little progress markers are. You get some satisfaction in that, but it's always difficult to get going. The hardest step is the first step. It's not the 30th step or the 100th step. It's the fucking first one. It's getting on the trail, getting going. It's the hardest thing. The hardest weight to lift is the first one, because once you get going, like, okay, I'm a half hour into my workout, I'm writing things down that I'm supposed to be doing. Now I got 20 chin-ups and then burpees and then all these. You have to do it. You just have to do it. And so many people have a hard time doing it.
If you would have ever
getting moving.
If you would have ever thought when you started stand-up that you'd be sort of like because you're kind of like a lifestyle guru in a way, you know what I mean? Like every time I've done the sensory deprivation stuff or the float stuff, every time I've gone into the place, when I just talk to the girl when she's like setting it up or something, I'll be like, oh, Joe Rogan got me into this. And they're always like, oh, Joe Rogan, he got everybody into this. Like you literally like created float places. Oh, I went to one in Nashville. Like the woman was like, oh, Joe Rogan, I love Joe Rogan. But like that and the MMA stuff and all that, like what a bizarre adventure. You know what I mean? Like you probably would have never thought that.
Well, the only reason why it happened is because I had no intention of doing it. It's like
it's a beautiful thing.
I have zero. I've never written a book on lifestyle or fucking what to do. I just say what I do, and I do it by example. Like obviously, I do all these things. I mean, that gym's not there for looks.
Yeah,
I fucking do all these things. I think this is just a natural thing that's happened.